And then we'll go into the pro show. Right away, I've got lucky enough to get Kawasaki rider Craig Warner up here with us in the tower this morning, and wanted to talk to him just a little bit and start by saying, you know, I was really pleased to see you yesterday. I wasn't sure I was going to see you this year on the national.
We went into World Finals, and I ended up getting hurt really bad, and so I took some time off, and we're kind of at the point where, are you going to be able to do it or not? You know, you're getting a little bit older, and you got to travel and all that stuff. And, you know, I talked to Joe Heim, my boss at Kawasaki, and he had me go out and ride and see where I stood. And so I went out and rode, and I actually felt good. I was still sore, and I'm still sore, but when I ride, it doesn't bother me. So we just decided, you know, a few months ago to say, let's do it again. We want Kawasaki to have that #1 plate for this year, and that's what we're here for. We're going to get it.
That's fantastic. You know, tell me about
person. So I got pushed to go to the doctor by my wife because I was in so much pain, and took some x-rays and found out what it was, and then I just talked to my chiropractor, and he set me with some movements to do and just let it heal. So
at your race in Kawasaki, you know, we all know introduced this new watercraft a year ago now, and that is one big hull and
strategic. It's that 1500cc motor has been around a long time.
We've got amateur runabout box stock on the number 45 machine out of Indonesia, Mohammed Farizi. He is sponsored by Dean's Team.
Boat number 157 out of Ocala, Florida. Riding for Riva Racing, Forever Hooked Water Sports, and Bennett Construction on the Yamaha, Jim Bennett.
On the 621 out of Elgin, Texas. He came all the way from Texas. I saw Joe Burkhalter this morning. He tore the skin off the back of his hand yesterday in a small incident. Went and had it sewed and taped up, put a glove on it. He's going to do his best out there. He is on the number 621 Sea-Doo.
He's a racer.
Yes,
764 out of Carthage, Texas. Riding for American Outdoor Transportation, Texas H2O Racing, Sean Compton.
Rounding out the field out of Hartsville, South Carolina, Yamaha mounted, sponsored by the Smith family and Dave Stafford, 42-year-old Charlie Smith. Charlie's on that 875. That's the field. Amateur runabout box stock, race number 1. We are ready to go racing.
Oh, it's going to be a great. Yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. We had more great races yesterday than I can remember in a long time, Kurt. And here we go today.
Yeah, it looks like Jim Bennett got the hole shot early. We'll see if it holds on. Yeah, Bennett's got it. Jim Bennett, 50 years old. Yeah, that. Go for it.
157, Jim Bennett. And, you know, it was Farizi yesterday that absolutely dominated this race from start to finish, both motos. And,
Farizi in second now.
Kind of a surprise to see Bennett out there in front, but good racing. Farizi now in second, as you mentioned, trying to track Bennett down, and he is closing the gap quickly.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Jim Bennett probably is carrying about as much ballast as Farisi weighs. So that power to weight ratio, the boat in second place, Muhammad Farisi from Indonesia, he was dominant yesterday, but right now Bennett got out front. Farisi's starting to reel him in just a little bit, but Bennett, he's a veteran racer. He knows how to keep somebody behind him. And watch him. He's going tight to the buoys. He's going to make Farisi work if he's going to be able to get around Bennett.
Yeah, it's good to see somebody out in front of Farisi, no offense, but we like to see good racing, and Bennett's doing a good job. You know, Farisi on that Dean's team, GP 1800 Yamaha, and that's a potent combination at all levels of watercraft racing these days. Dean's got those GP 1800 Yamahas pretty dialed in for stock class racing, and we saw Farisi yesterday really flying around the racetrack.
Yeah, veteran GP to the line, please. Veteran ski GP to the line. Yeah, you couldn't be more right about Dean's team. Dean really has those things dialed. I'll tell you what, Jim Bennett, he is motivated this morning, and let's just be real. He's more than twice as old as the guy in second place as Farisi is. So Bennett's got to use, what do they say? Age and guile is better than youthful enthusiasm. Not so much in personal watercraft racing.
Not
Youthful
so much.
enthusiasm goes a long way. So Jim, it's
Great dice going on side by side. Farisi pulling up with Bennett. And there they go side by side. Farisi actually trying to go around the outside. That's a very difficult task to do. You need excess horsepower to pull that off generally. Down that long jet trim back straightaway goes Bennett and Farisi. What a great race to start the day, Kurt.
I'll tell you what, and you know what? I don't think it's a question of if, it's a question of when. But Jim Bennett, bless your heart, that veteran, he's doing everything he can to keep Farisi behind him. And, you know, honestly, he's leaving the door more open than I would, Rick.
Yeah, you know, Bennett may have found some extra horsepower somehow, a little tuning between yesterday and today. Who knows? You know, something's happened because Farisi pretty much rode by himself in both motos yesterday, and Bennett's doing an absolutely phenomenal job keeping Farisi behind him here in this box stock veterans runabout class, amateur runabout class, excuse me. First,
yeah,
he's
done a great job, and
look at him go, man.
I tell you,
he's pulling out a couple of boat lengths on that back straightaway over Farisi. Now let's face it, Farisi doesn't have to win this to take the overall. You know, but I don't think I think he still wants to win. I don't think there's any question about that, because he's got two firsts, so a second's going to give him the overall for the weekend, no doubt about it. So he doesn't have to do anything crazy to get by Bennett. But I think as being a racer, he still wants to get by Bennett and make it 3 for 3.
No question is we're watching him on there. Are they seeing this on the live stream? I tell you what, Bennett is making choices. And Farisi, frankly, is being very gentlemanly because there are some places where he could have pushed that boat in, and he chose not to. Halfway flags are up. I think he's going to get a little bit serious about it now. Bennett's stretching the lead on the jet trim back straightaway each time they get on it now.
He seems to have a little top end on Farisi for whatever reason today that didn't happen yesterday. And so Bennett has found either some youthful enthusiasm or some extra HP. Maybe he's got a little blue dog in that thing today. You know?
I've heard rumors.
And,
Bennett sticks it, but gets away. Farisi's still behind him. Sorry, Rick.
Yeah, no, good racing all the way around. And Farisi now, I think to your point, halfway through this race is going, okay, the fooling around's pretty much over. And he makes a mistake again. Bennett not really allowing him to get by easily. Farisi, I mean, this is amateur racing. This isn't pro racing. I think, as you mentioned, the door was open a few times. And if had this been a pro class, things might be a little bit different.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Jim Bennett is getting better and better. Each lap, I'm watching his lines. He's getting tighter to the buoys. He's coming out with more speed. And Farisi is actually losing distance to Bennett right now. Now, here we go. Bennett's going to be catching up with lap traffic by the end of this lap. And that will be a door opener for Farisi. Potentially. We'll have to see what happens. One thing I want to say, Veteran Ski GP, we need you to the line right now, please. Veteran Ski GP to the line.
Yeah, Bennett's strategy right now is just, keep the inside, hug the inside lines, force Farisi to go around the outside to get around him, and that's no easy task, generally speaking, particularly in stock class racing. So if Bennett can hold the inside line and not open the door too wide for Farese, he may have some success here in the latter stage of this first moto.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed now is Jim Bennett has been out front with clear water. Now he's riding in the pump wash for the lappers he's coming up on, and Farese is all over behind him. That Yamaha is hooking up in this stuff, and there goes Farese. Oh, Farese got the inside. He's going to keep it. Bye-bye, Mr. Bennett. Yeah, Farese was taking his time, and he made that move, Rick.
Yeah, you know, the cool thing about it is it was a bit gentlemanly, as you mentioned earlier. He didn't force his way. He waited for an opening and took it. You know, he did, you know, have to, stick it in there a little bit to get by him, but it was clean, and that's some good racing right there.
Love seeing it. And now Farese just yarded away from Bennett. He's going through the lap traffic like the proverbial hot knife through butter. Look out. And that's a 621. I think that's Joe Burkhalter. For those who didn't hear earlier, Burkhalter peeled the skin off the back of his right hand, his throttle hand. I saw him this morning all bandaged up. And he says, look, I came all this way from Texas. I'm not going to let a little cut bother me. And he's doing pretty well out there for having an injured hand.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. And kudos to Burkhalter for hanging in there and getting this final moto. And he came, as you said, he did come a long way. And you might as well get your money's worth if you can. White flag comes out now. And that was the last lap there. And checkered flag comes out for Farese. So Farese makes it a clean sweep for the weekend. 3 motos, 3 wins for the Dean's team rider. And out of Indonesia, Muhammad Farese takes the win here in amateur runabout box stock. Burkhalter is going to take second, and that's 3 seconds for him. So first moto finished here on Sunday morning. Beautiful again. Another beautiful, beautiful day here in Panama City Beach, Florida for round number 1 of the Blue Dog Chemical Company Pro Watercross Tour presented by Broward Motorsports, and we head on to our first ski class of the morning.
We're going to be doing Veteran Ski GP. They're on the line. Let's go ahead and call it out. The number
out there, it was a great idea.
of Arena, North Carolina, Yamaha mounted 53 years old, Ralph McGregor. He's sponsored by Hurricane Racing and Judge Motorsports.
On boat number 11, out of Christchurch, New Zealand, the Yamaha, sponsored by Brock Austin Racing, that's Marshall Brown.
On the number 55, K1 out of Freeport, Florida, Jeff Ludker.
Number 149 out of Sacramento on the Bullet Racing machine, riding for Liquid Militia, Jetlift, Gold Club, SF, Fly, Scat Track, Shark Energy, Ultimate Watercraft, Slippery, Bullet V2, HydroTurf, Jet Trim, and Riva. That's Pete Zernick.
And rounding out the field on the 812 Yamaha out of Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, sponsored by 4Ply Racing, Pennzoil, Jiffy Lube, Shell, Jet Pilot, SWX Graphics, Riva, and Fly Racing, Mike Kelberer. That's our lineup in Veteran Ski GP. Will be beginning almost immediately.
Oh, yeah. All right, Veteran Ski GP on the starting line. Here we go. Yeah, 8-12. 8-12 again. We'll finish taking off right where he left off yesterday afternoon. Mike Kelberer. Your mic is not on. Kelberer out front again. Boy, he has looked wonderful all weekend on that big SXR 1500 Kawasaki.
Yeah, there's Pete Zernick right behind him. Oh, third place almost goes off. That looks like Ralph McGregor out of North Carolina. There's Jeff Lutker coming through, and of course I think that's Marshall Brown out there, but there's a boat change. We'll check that as he comes around.
Yeah, so we got Zernick on the bullet hull, I'm assuming triple.
Yep, triple two-stroke.
Yep, and trying to track down this Kawasaki SXR 1500. And, talking to Craig Warner earlier, this track is kind of tailor-made for that Kawasaki SXR 1500, and particularly the length and the rougher it gets, the more of an advantage. Not really too rough out here this morning. Kind of ideal conditions right now.
Yeah, it is almost a flat water race, but that'll change this afternoon. I was talking with Zernick, who's in second place now earlier, and he also has 1500 Fs at home that he's been training on. Decided to bring a mild-tuned triple two-stroke. This isn't his full-on GP machine. He says, I brought my family. I traveled all the way across the country. I want a boat that's going to run for the rounds that are out here. When the finals come, the big equipment comes out.
Yeah, that's pretty sound judgment, really. Nothing worse than a long road trip with a DNF being the result. So pretty smart move, Zernick. Definitely giving up some horsepower here, and to that big SXR 1500. Kelberer riding absolutely stellar all weekend long. 2 firsts so far. Looks like he's on his way to another first. Although Pete Zernick keeping him honest here in moto number 3. Zernick has Zernick's got a couple of seconds under his belt, so it's been those two all day yesterday. And yesterday afternoon when they raced, the conditions were considerably different than they are here this morning. That wind came up on shore yesterday afternoon, and really things got real rough. We had a decent swell coming in. On top of that, some pretty good wind chop, and then you get the boat wakes turning things up, and man, it got rough.
Yeah, first and second have just left the rest of the field. Kelberer now has, I'd say, an eighth of a lap lead over Zernick. Zernick about a half a lap over third. That is the 182 machine. Yeah, and third spot on that 182, I think, is Marshall Brown out of Christchurch, New Zealand. Riding on a, yes? Yeah.
Little housekeeping to note here, racers coming up later in the amateur racing program. Races 7, 8, and 9, amateur ski stock, ski four-stroke, and veterans runabout box stock. Though the order has been changed around a little bit, so make sure that you take a look at the pit board and know that race number 7 is now amateur ski stock. It was listed as race number 9, but it is race number 7 right now. Ski four-stroke is race 8. Veterans runabout box stock is race 9. Sports stock is still race 10. So there's been a little change in the order, the race order, on the latter half of the amateur racing Moto3 program this morning. So be sure, double check the pit board. But race number 7 is amateur ski stock. Race 8 is ski four-stroke, and race 9 is veterans runabout box stock. Now race 10 still sports stock. And meanwhile, out in front, it's still Kelberer leading the way around. Boat number 812, our race leader. Not much has changed in the last couple of laps. In fact, not much has changed in the last all the laps from the gate. Looks like about 2 laps to go. Kelber getting the sign from our starter, Stormin Norman, on the flagging tower.
Sneezy for you to slay, I say yet again. Nay, nay.
All right. You got a working mic there, Kurt?
Barely, but it's working right now. I'll tell you what's working is Mike Kelber. He is working this track. He is way gone. He is in another zip code, another time zone, but he is coming into lap traffic, and that could be a bright spot for Pete Zernick, still in that second position. And look at this, the young man from New Zealand lapping into traffic in that third position. That's Marshall Brown. Brown was on the tour last year, did a great job, and he's doing a good job here. White flag, 1 lap to go for Mike Kelber. All he's got to do is keep that thing upright.
Yeah, he's done a pretty good job of that all weekend. I don't think he's going to have much trouble here on the final lap. That guy has ridden flawlessly from start to finish, all 3 motos here in the opening round of the Blue Dog Chemical Company Pro Watercross Tour, presented by checkered flag out. 8-12. Kelber takes the victory. That is 3 for 3 this weekend for Mike Kelber. Kelber out of Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, and he's going to go home very, very happy with his finish here in round number 1, 149. Pete Zernick all the way from Sacramento, California. That's Kurt Nolenberg's turf.
Yeah, that's my home place. Pete Zernick, one of the top riders out there in Northern California. He participates everywhere. Yeah, Maverick, Richard Ignacio, the owner and proprietor of livestreaming247.com. Another Pete fan. He's also in El Dorado, right outside of Sacramento. It's a kind of a hotbed of personal watercraft racing. You know, Larry Rippenkroger came from up there. Chris Gann.
A whole lot of guys. Tony Corey.
Tony Corey, of course, with his races.
Flying Brian Bendix, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Another one of the NorCal crew from back in the day. A lot of guys. Yeah,
Chris
that was
Crash Williams.
Yep. I think Art Chambers was Art's from that area too, right? Art. The ace, Brenda Burns.
Brenda Burns Chambers, and now their son.
Yeah. Talon is just charging. That guy is getting real fast.
Spectacularly fast.
A lot of good riders from up there in Northern California.
Yeah, well, you know, people go to a place called Camp Far West, Flatwater Lake, and the lake has been having jet ski racers both have races there and to practice. They allow us to put up buoys in kind of a semi-permanent cove there. So almost any weekend, summer or winter, you can go up there and see Pete Zernick and his friends out there racing.
Yeah, having a local scene like that is so critical and instrumental to developing obviously good talent. In any area that has a scene like that, you typically find some really good riders coming from that area.
Right, you are, Rick.
Yeah, and so we look now down on the starting line. We've got Novice Sports Stock. This is their third moto. Let's take a look on the starting line. Boat number 13 out of Cooper City, Florida, riding for Broward Motorsports, Judge Motorsports, Exotic Signs, Shoei, Jet Pilot, Whamilton's, ISA, Jet Lift, Jet Trim, and Labaco. That is Sammy Niemi.
Is it Labaco or Labaco? All right,
you
on the
tell
number
me.
24 machine, Riley O'Flaherty out of Rotterdam, New York. On the 25, Jason Zahagian out of Bonita Springs, Florida.
296 Port Charlotte, Florida. On the WCP Yamaha, Hayden Skellett.
And rounding out the field, Robert Tyre on the 331 Yamaha. We are about to go Novice Sports Stock, race number 3, moto number 3. And we'll have a little break here.
Looks like a 2-minute hold, maybe.
I think it's a mechanical issue with our starter.
Mechanical hold on the gate this time. Little gate maintenance going on. Okay, it looks like that Stingray we had out here this morning is long gone. And once the skis got on the water, I think he thought better of this location to hang out. And here we go.
Hayden Skellett off the pole like a slingshot there. He's got the inside line, so he has definitely got the hole shot. Hayden Skellett won both motos yesterday, so he's starting good. Look at this, the battle for second or third already, Rick.
Yeah, Sammy Niemi's going to take that second position after a couple of tight buoy challenges. Can't see the number on that that blue blaster in third. It's like 231, 331. Robert Tyre hanging in third place behind Niemi. So it's Skellett, Niemi, and Tyre running 1, 2, 3.
Wow, Rick, did you see that as they headed off the front straightaway into the center section of the course? Tyre lifted his boat up, put it sideways like a motocross bike going into a burn, and just shot out of those two yellows in the inside of the course. Tyre is on fire out there in the third position.
Yeah, you know, that handle, that move right there you just mentioned, I think that's indicative of why so many people love to ride Yamaha Wave Blasters to this day, and why this class has gained such popularity. There's not very many people you talk to that have ever had a blaster that get rid of it, or they want another one if they made the mistake of doing so. People love to ride Wave Blasters.
I wish that we had never gotten rid of ours. I'll tell you what, it's one of the most fun boats to ride.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people that have had them from day one, and they refuse to get rid of them. They still love to ride them, and which is really cool. I mean, the sport has evolved. The sport has changed dramatically through the years, but the one thing that hasn't changed is how much fun it is to ride. That has never gone away from the first day I rode a 550 jet ski in 1983 till today. That experience has never become less fun. It's still as much fun to get on the water and ride than it ever has been.
Rick, you're absolutely right. I even know riders that ride, I'm going to say it out loud, tiger sharks, and still enjoy the sport.
That's saying a lot.
Exactly.
That's pushing it a little bit, but
Frank Romero come to mind?
a few guys come to mind. San Felipe Bob is another one.
Yes, San Felipe.
You know him?
Oh, yeah.
He raced a Tiger Shark for Tiger Shark, I believe, back in the BP racing days, the endurance racing Lou Peralta had in Southern California and Mexico for quite some time.
I think Crazy Jerry jumped into that, too, if you remember Crazy.
Oh yeah, very well. Well, out in front, it's Skellett. Skellett has just really dominated this novice sports stock class this weekend. 2 firsts under his belt yesterday in the 2 motos we ran, and here today he is pulling away from the field. Definitely the fastest rider here this weekend in novice sports stock, Kurt.
I was just going to say, we've watched these guys all last year, the Hayden family, the Skelletts, the Niemis, and Sammy Niemi is not riding bad at all. He's riding well, but Hayden Skellett he's approaching these corners at Mach speed. Now, of course, there's nobody in front of him. It's easy to do. He doesn't have any pump wash to deal with, but he is attacking every single corner all the way around the course, and that's why he's extending his lead. He could back off the throttle. This kid, I think he has made that jump to the next level, and we're watching a future star right now as he is dominating this class.
Yeah, no question about it. You see him, his cornering speed, which is everything in racing, almost everything in racing at least. His cornering speed is phenomenal on this blaster. He barely lets off the gas. Even in the tightest of corners, he is really keeping his momentum. He very rarely is bogging coming out of a corner. He rockets out of each corner no matter how tight they are, and that's why he's extending that lead right now and has dominated his class this weekend. And Sammy Niemi, his nemesis, I guess, to some degree in challenge, and a good friend, I'm sure. But nonetheless, and Niemi very, very fast as well on that blaster. And these guys are on good equipment. I mean, they're on very, very good equipment.
Well, I got to say this, and you know, I don't want to speak for him, but Sammy had a couple of get-offs yesterday. Looking at the point spread, and believe me, these riders look at the points from the prior motos before they go. They know where they need to be. It's definitely Hayden's race to lose with 2 firsts already. Sammy didn't do so good. He had a 2 and a 5 for him yesterday, so he knows he's not going to get the win. Actually, I think even if Hayden dropped out right now, he would still get the win with the number of riders that are still out there.
Yep.
So I think Sammy might be saving himself for some of the other classes a little later on today.
That could very well be. You know, it got real rough when these guys raced yesterday afternoon. The conditions got very, very rough here, and we saw Sammy get knocked off a couple of times, and he got beat up a little bit yesterday afternoon.
All right, you know, we need to jump in here real quick and call to the line. IROC Stock, Amateur Runabout Super Stock, Women's Runabout Box Stock. You should all be on the line right now. There's 2 laps to go. Race number 4, the band will be going quickly. IROC Stock, we need John Block, Brian Simpson, Brian O'Rourke, and Monica O'Rourke. In Amateur Runabout, Kevin Kennedy. And in Women's Runabout Box Stock, well, if you're going to be there for IROC Stock, you'll also be there for Women's Runabout Stock, Monica O'Rourke. She's the only rider that gets to ride 2 classes in the same race.
That's not bad. You can pull it off. Good duty.
She did it all last year. She's waiting for someone to come challenge her.
Couple laps to go here in Novice Sports Stock. Again, Hayden Skellett, 296, the race leader. Hayden out of Port Charlotte, Florida, on the Yamaha Wave Blaster, riding for WCP, Jet Lift, Action Jet Sports, Jersey Mike's, IPD Graphics, Abaco Sunglasses, Commander Industries, and Skellett Motorsports. And he is absolutely dominating Novice Sports Stock, not only today, but the entire weekend.
Wow, that's crazy. Robert's tire in 3rd position came around onto the front straightaway. That blaster went sideways. He skidded it like a dirt bike. It caught, almost threw him off. He hit the throttle and pulled himself back onto the boat. I'll tell you what, there's action going on all the way around this course, Rick.
Yeah, these guys are on the gas, riding these blasters pretty much flat out the entire way around the course, and definitely takes some upper body strength when you're pushing them that hard to hold on and stay connected to the watercraft.
Boy, here comes your leader. The checker flag is coming out. Put your hands together. Your wire-to-wire winner, Hayden Skellett. Wow, what a great ride for him. And look at this battle coming down to the wire. I think that's a lapper. It is, but Sammy Niemi right there on the number 25, Jason Sahagian. He's out of Bonita Springs, Florida. We'll see Sammy out here in a few more races. Up next, IROC Stock, Amateur Runabout Super Stock, and Women's Runabout Box Stock. Who we got in there, Rick?
Oh, let's take a look down on the starting line. Boat number 22 with a pair of wins yesterday out of West Harrison, Indiana, riding for Judge Motorsports. That's John Block on the Yamaha.
On the number 171 Yamaha out of Bradenton, Florida. He's sponsored by WCP, Action, Yamaha Kawasaki, Blacktip, SBT, Watercraft Superstore. It is Brian Simpson.
Number 316 out of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, on the Sea-Doo, riding for Team Faith, Fly Racing, Oleans USA, Pirelli Moto, KTM USA, Western Power Sports, Amsoil Inc., Jet Lift, True Build Trailers, Affordable Heating and AC. It's Brian O'Rourke.
And I'll tell you what, Brian O'Rourke, head of Team Faith. His wife, Monica O'Rourke, is on the 516 boat in both classes, oddly enough. And Team Faith, of course, they have a whole litany of sponsors. They do a great job crisscrossing the country, spreading the word of their faith. the Christian faith, Jesus Christ. And they're kind enough to throw out a devotional every day and lead us in prayer. We appreciate that. In the amateur runabout superstock class on the number 157 Yamaha out of New Hope, Pennsylvania, Kevin Kennedy. He's sponsored by Hamilton Yamaha and Impact Signs.
And our women's runabout box stock racer, also very familiar, number 516 as well. Monica O'Rourke doing double duty, 2 classes in this one. Man, if you can pull that off, you're bringing home some hardware. It is twice as nice. Oh, beautiful, beautiful day again here in Panama City Beach, Florida. The white sandy beaches, the clear, beautiful water. We had a stingray out there visiting earlier this morning, kind of hanging out during the riders' meeting, but it looks like he has ventured off to greener pastures once the skis hit the water.
You know what you were saying out there earlier, though. I think I thought I saw that Ray giving you a fin. I'm not sure about that, Ray.
I think he was.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that, too. I wasn't real pleased with him.
What up with that?
Fins to the left of me, fins to the right. It's something like that. Oh, wait. Something like that. This is Jimmy's turf, so this is Jimmy's turf. Oh, man, what a beautiful area. Absolutely. A lot of margaritas being served yesterday. That's for sure. Cinco de Mayo. Probably more on the West Coast. I think that's more of a West Coast thing than California deal, I guess. But, when in Rome, we bring California with us. So Kurt and I both Kurt from Northern Cal. I'm from Southern Cal, and that's all right. We celebrate anyway, regardless of what the date is.
All right, here we go. IROC stock, amateur runabout super stock, women's runabout box stock. They are ready to go. Trying to get this boat started, having an issue. Whoa, Brian O'Rourke trying to keep that thing running, dropped it in the water and jetted away from his wife. He'll be in that 3rd position, trying to catch the number. Is that
John Block out in front one more time? 22 out of West Harrison. John Block, as well as Brian Simpson on the Yamaha EXs. This IROC stock class previously was all Sea-Doo Sparks. Now Yamaha's got that EX platform they've come out with, and that is running in the IROC class as well. As we talked about yesterday, very affordable racing and very affordable entry into the sport, period.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brian O'Rourke is doing everything he can to get out of that pump wash of the Yamaha EX in front of him, Brian Simpson's boat. And if he can get by, he potentially could try and catch John Block. But I'll tell you what, yesterday, just as it is in this race so far, Block already checking out into another time zone.
Yeah, Block is kind of going away here, but behind him, a good battle for second place. As you mentioned, Simpson and O'Rourke going at it. O'Rourke looks like he's closing that gap on second place a little bit. He had a pair of thirds yesterday. Simpson had a pair of seconds, so I know Brian would at least like to try to get by Simpson and garner a second place finish here in Moto number 3.
I got to think that Brian is physically doing a lot better than he was yesterday. He talked a little bit privately about the tribulations of getting here. 5 different breakdowns on the way. Just everything seemed to be keeping him from getting any sleep. Actually, the whole Team Faith team. And this morning, boy, he is looking strong and on fire. He is not backing off at all. I do want to say, junior ski stock, 10 to 12 and 13-15, you should be on the line. I saw Sam Neby already getting in the water. We need Taylor Skellett, Hayden Skellett, and Hagen Smith on the line.
And a reminder to everybody, Worldwide will be coming up at 11 o'clock here fairly soon. And that will be the beginning of our pro show today.
Out in front, John Block continuing to lead. It's 1, 2, 3 like a freight train. Not much distance. He's not pulling out the kind of lead he did yesterday. But with 2 firsts, he's in a strong position for the overall, Rick.
Yeah, John Block has ridden flawlessly all weekend long. A couple firsts, as you mentioned yesterday. Leading this one here again this morning. He is a shoo-in to take the overall. The first round here of the tour this year in this IROC stock class, which is comprised of the Sea-Doo Spark watercraft and now the Yamaha EXs as well. And it looks like the EXs are getting a little bit better around the track right now than the Sparks. We're missing a few of the Spark riders from last year, the Gabriels and a few others that compete in this class. Hopefully we'll see them at some point on the tour this year.
Yeah, I hope so. I was disappointed that they weren't here, or at least in this class.
Exactly. I think this class has some great potential with the cost factor. You're looking at $5,000 entry, or into the sport for a box stock Sea-Doo Spark, and that's obviously the reason why they've become so popular on the sales floor.
Yeah, but now with the Yamahas, it's really going to open it up.
And the Yamaha is a little higher price point than the Sparks, at least MSRP wise. But at any rate, a great entry into the sport. And if you want to try watercraft racing, this is a great place to do it right here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, those the Sea-Doo Sparks kind of feel to me like a blaster. They're similar in their riding style.
Yeah, this is somewhat a new sport class to some degree, a little bit bigger watercraft, but nonetheless, if you're going to make comparisons, that would be the one that comes closest to mind.
Yeah. When you say that, Rick, I can't help but think back, and I know you were doing it at the same time, of when the X2 was the X2 class. Then Yamaha came up with the Blaster, and it became the sport class. And then Sea-Doo came out with the HX, and it became the HX class for about a year till we allowed a few more modifications to the Blasters. And, of course, the X2s pretty much weren't even involved until I'm trying to think of who was on the X2 in Doug and Lori. Anyway, he came out and got the whole shot at National Championships.
Last year?
Yes, you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. The couple from Reno, I believe, Nevada.
Yes. And why can I not remember his
Well,
first name?
with the rules, the way the rules have been constructed for the sport class, it's the specs are designed to obviously allow the X2s the greatest amount of modifications because they are at the greatest disadvantage. And they've done a pretty darn good job of trying to equalize the three watercraft because back in the day when things were evolving naturally, the X2 class, when it was allowed into IGSBA racing, was...
Sorry, we had a rider just about go off course there on the final lap. He saw his mistake just before hitting the second point, came back and got it. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
Rick.
that's okay. We've got to keep an eye on what's going on in the track. Far more important than what happened in the IGSBA in 1987.
In 18 what?
Yeah, exactly. But, the X2s were relegated to the, junkyard when the Blasters came out. That was the bottom line. So until recently where they become popular again for obvious reasons.
Yeah, up in my section of the state, it's the #1 class. The X2s, it's incredible how many of those things are bought at a garage sale for $50. Then you jump about $12,000 into it.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, the sport is it's not that old, and so it's just now we're at the point in the evolution that there can be vintage racing, essentially, and that really what the sport class is modern vintage racing.
And one of the most fun classes.
And very, very popular, particularly the GP class, just crazy. And also on the West Coast, the 550 class, the 550 vintage skis are gaining a tremendous amount of popularity. And that class is growing by leaps and bounds as our checkered flag comes out for the Yamaha EX, ridden by John Block, 22 out of West Harrison, Indiana. He makes it a clean sweep this weekend.
Three. Yeah, right behind him, Brian Simpson, then Brian O'Rourke, will be followed through by Monica O'Rourke. Monica will finish 4th in IROC stock, but 1st in women's runabout. And, of course, Kevin Kennedy won the overall in the amateur runabout super stock. All right, sorry, folks. We're a little bit behind, so we're going to jump into the Pro Show. Juniors, we'll have you on right after the Pro Show. Thank you for being on the line on time. Our bad. All right, we'll be getting the Pro Show started in just a few moments here. We'll start out with Pro-Am Ski Stock, but before we do, you know, we've talked about Blue Dog Chemical. They're new to the personal watercraft industry. We're so excited to have them on board. Of course, there's a lot of other sponsors that have been with us for a while. We don't want to forget them. Of course, Sea-Doo, Yamaha. HYDROTURF is our freestyle sponsor with their seat covers and mats. And now they've added the stand-up paddleboard and surf pads to their product line. I didn't know if you knew that, Rick.
Yeah, I was the first one to ever have a HydroTurf pad on my stand-up paddleboard, actually.
Was it a signature one? Did Arno sign it before he gave it to you?
No, but he definitely hooked me up. Much better than a signature.
He's real good about doing that.
Yeah, no, it's been on there for, let me see, that particular board is 9 years old, and still the HydroTurf's running strong.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's been on that board. That board has been through everything, surfing, paddling, all over the place, and the HydroTurf is definitely the hot setup for SUPs as well as personal watercraft.
Yeah. Well, right in there with them, Jet Trim, Bitch and Stitchin', another long-time supporter of the sport. Been, as you know, changes to ownership. But they're still sponsoring the sport. They're help sponsoring the tour. They've got their, seat and mat covers. They are the official seat and mat covers of the tour, and we're really appreciative of them still being on. They've been supporting the sport for well over 20 years.
And sponsors of the back straightaway, the Jet Trim back straight.
That's right. Shark Energy, the official energy drink of the Pro Watercross Tour. I know it may sound like I had one already, but I wait until the afternoon because otherwise I talk so fast you can't even understand what I'm saying.
Well said.
Thank you. Watcon.com, up out of Washington still, I believe. And, of course, as always, Scat Track Performance. Thank you so much for what you do. Coming to the line, Pro-Am Ski Stock. Oh, there's some great names on here. Jimmy Wilson, Matthew Ritchuk, David Cabrera, Luke Kerr, Mackenzie Underhill, Hayes, Brown, Turner. Oh, yeah. They're going to be boiling the water out there. Pro-Am Ski Stock, so much fun to watch. Our thanks go out to the Edgewater and everyone that helped make this event go off. Really love this portion of Florida. It's absolutely gorgeous here. Panama City, one of my favorite places to visit. Next weekend, we're going to Pensacola, another one of my favorite spots. I'll tell you what, the Edgewaters really looks gorgeous. The beach is absolutely pristine. We got a lot of people out here that get to watch the races for free. It's spectacular. And, of course, you seeing us live on the live stream. All thanks to livestreaming247.com. Richard Ignacio. I call him Maverick.
White sand in your toes, smell the sea in your nose. Touch the earth, yeah, it glows. Sunsets are pretty shows. Gulls laugh up above, these are things that we love. Palms sway in the breeze, those crazy dancing trees. People play on the shore, could not wish for more. In the surf under the sun, oh, this is so much fun.
Blue Dog Chemical Company's mission can be summed up in 3 words: technology-fueled performance. Lots of companies talk performance. We've lived it for 40 years. Our team has developed some of the most trusted fuel delivery systems and oil additives for grueling commercial applications, for companies whose fortunes depend on maintaining peak efficiency and performance. Now, we've shifted gears and brought these proven formulas to popular recreational applications. Our fuel and oil additives have one thing in common: we address problems and solve them. We're not about quick remedies or band-aids. Take our oil additives. They tackle the problem of thermal viscosity breakdown head-on, not by adding potentially engine-harming solids like Teflon or rubber polymers to reduce friction and heat, but by formulating our oil with additives that bond to engine parts and solve the problem. The result is a solution to friction, excessive heat, and the fuel economy and performance it robs from your engine. In fact, our additives will give you 10% or greater fuel economy in the process. Blue Dog fuel additives are an even greater stroke of genius. Again, we attacked a problem. Take gasoline, for instance. The reason the typical fuel burn efficiency is somewhere around 70 to 75% has to do with the varying size of fuel molecules. Its smaller molecules burn rapidly. Longer molecules burn much slower. This is why engines can develop a knock and can contaminate your engine and the environment with unburned fuel and exhaust pollutants. Blue Dog gasoline additive decreases the burn rate of the short hydrocarbons and increases the burn rate of the longer hydrocarbons. Now that they're able to ignite simultaneously, you get a much more complete fuel burn. This means much more powerful combustion, more horsepower, and better performance. This translates to better hole shot and better throttle response throughout the entire power curve. What's even better is we've infused these additives into our 2- and 4-stroke oils, so you can start feeling the difference with a single oil change. So if these sound like advantages you could use, pick up some today from our representatives or visit BlueDogChemicalCo.com to learn more. Blue Dog Chemical, technology-fueled performance.
In appreciation of your support of the Pro Watercross Tour, and it's so meaningful of everything you've helped out with, and obviously bringing Blue Dog on board as well as others, and really appreciative of your support to the entire watercraft community.
Thank you very much. We're glad to be here.
We so appreciate it, Tom. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, and really appreciate it again, and have a great day.
You too. All right, thanks. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Up next, the Blessing. Brian, good racing out there, man. You look like you had a lot more energy today.
I think my ski had a little more energy. I want to thank the holders that helped me. Kevin, he's holding about every single race down here, and him and Mike Carroll held my ski. My ski wouldn't go into sport mode unless it was out of the water. It wouldn't go under load. So yesterday I just raced in the slow mode. But they helped me, and it obviously paid off. Didn't change my position any, but got to play around with those guys at least. It was fun.
It looked good, too. You were looking really strong out there today.
Well, thanks. Are we ready to pray?
We are ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you again for such a beautiful day on a beautiful race site. We're so appreciative of all the effort that has gone into making this tour happen once again, and all the people behind the scenes that work very hard. We ask that you just bless them today with a spirit of accomplishment and pride, and then bless all these athletes as they throw a leg over these machines to compete and follow their passion. We look forward to what you're going to do here today. We invite you to be part of our event, and we ask for your blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Brian. As always, Team Faith at every race on the tour and in SUP-CROSS as well. Yeah.
And now if we could have everybody please stand. Gentlemen, please remove your hats for the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red blare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right. Time to rock and roll.
Yeah, let's get it. Pro-Am Ski, race number 11 on the number 1 machine out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Yamaha mounted, sponsored by Judge Motorsports, Broward Motorsports IPD Graphics, Yamaha and ADA Racing, Jimmy Wilson.
Boat number 10 out of Apex, North Carolina, on the Kawasaki, sponsored by Hurricane Racing and Amsoil. That's Callaway Turner.
On the number 11Y out of Christchurch, New Zealand, Yamaha mounted, sponsored by Marshall Brown Advertising and Brock Austin Racing, Quade Brown.
Number 15 from High Point, North Carolina, riding for STB Racing, Amsoil, Jet Dynamics, Fly Racing, and Rock Tape. That's Matthew Richuk.
On the number 31 Yamaha out of Poughkeepsie, New York, sponsored by CT Watercraft, Z-Force, and HydroTurf, William Beers Jr.
Number 51 out of Miramar, Florida, riding for Broward Motorsports, Wet Sport Racing, and Exotic Signs on the Hydrospace, David Cabrera.
On the number 55 machine out of Freeport, Florida, self-sponsored, Robbie Lutker.
Number 77 out of Palmyra, South Carolina, on the Hurricane Racing, LPW Performance Yamaha, Kenny McKenzie.
And on the 115 Yamaha out of Pensacola, Florida, sponsored by Pensacola Motorsports, Fly Racing, and Ross Products, Brett Underhill.
Number 425 out of Dawsonville, Georgia, on the Impros, Extreme Throttle, Scott Motorsports, Rhino Power, Jet Dynamics Yamaha, Wyatt Hayes.
That's our lineup. Pro-Am Ski Stock. The Pro Show is ready to go.
Race number 2. I should say moto number 2 of a total of 3. We'll have the second and third motos here today. We ran the first motos yesterday. And in moto number 1, it was Jimmy Wilson taking the win. He lines up on the inside of the starting gate right near the flagging tower. The course runs to the left around the first turn. Left-hand first turn is generally the practice in pro watercross racing. Sometimes we get a right-hand turn, very rarely.
Is that a goofy foot course, Rick?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Nothing goofy about this. Cards at 2, goes to 1, and sideways, and there they go. Oh, rider from New Zealand stuck here. Wilson with a good drive, but looks like Richuk going to sweep around the outside. They're side by side. Jimmy Wilson going to take the hole shot.
Boy, Wilson stayed low, real low in that tray the entire way to the first turn. Held on to the inside position and made it work and keeps Richuk behind him. Richuk, the young 17-year-old rider out of High Point, North Carolina, really looking good as he's getting faster by the race. And he's trying to keep Jimmy Wilson in his sights. And Wilson, as we know, national champion and one of the top riders in the country.
Right behind him, Callaway Turner doing a great job. And the aforementioned, Little confusion going on out there. All right, our race leader still out in front, Jimmy Wilson. Behind him, Matthew Richuk. In third, the number 10 at Callaway Turner. And that looks like David Cabrera, the 50-year-old David Cabrera, in that fourth position.
Well, interesting. The rider that got stuck on the gate got a late start and is forcing Jimmy Wilson to already face lap traffic on the second lap of the race. Kind of an unusual situation. And he's getting the blue flag with the yellow stripe in the middle. That indicates for the rider getting that flag that you need to move over. The leaders are coming by, and he does very graciously. Gets out of the way. Well, look at Richuk. Richuk now all over Wilson. That lapped rider essentially caused Wilson to slow down, and Richuk really gained some ground on him immediately. Boy, Richuk, 17 years old, really getting quick. He's getting faster, as I said, it's seemingly by the race.
Yeah, we mentioned that yesterday, and it's true. We know how fast Jimmy Wilson. Look at this. Matthew Richuk is reeling in Jimmy Wilson. I got to look down here.
Richuk and Wilson both on Yamaha Superjets as they come around the left-hand side of the race course. It's Wilson leading Richuk. Wilson, 29 years old, out of Charlotte, North Carolina, riding for Judge Motorsports and Broward Motorsports. Comes down the front straightaway with the lead, boat number 1. Right behind him, number 17, is Matthew Richuk. Matthew Richuk is keeping the pressure on the national champion, Jimmy Wilson.
He's doing it, and I'm going to say third and fourth, Turner and Cabrera, they're right there. I mean, they're within striking distance if there's a problem with either one of the two leaders.
David Cabrera, the Iron Man of stand-up racing. Yesterday, he raced, I believe, 3 events, and I would have to check and see how many motos he was in, but it seemed like he was on the water the entire day.
I'll tell you what, back in the pack, Quade Brown had an issue earlier, and he is on fire. I think he may be circulating faster than even our leaders. Quade Brown on fire out there. He's back in the, I'm going to say the 5th spot right now, but not for long. He's bearing down on 4th position.
Boat number 1, Jimmy Wilson, coming by in front and heading on to that left-hand turn, the far right-hand side of the course. The race leader with number 15, Matthew Richuk, right behind him. You can't miss Richuk. That helmet is just like it's plugged into solar power out there on the course. I love it because it's easy to identify for announcing. Things like that make it very easy to identify a racer. You can pick them up anywhere. That helmet is bright.
Well, you know what? That's one of the things that, I'm sure you've done this as well, Rick. Helped out the new racers. You get them together. You tell them, listen, there's a few things that are really important. There's safety, of course, making sure your machine's prepped. But almost primary is take care of those people that take care of you, your sponsors, and doing things like being identifiable, as Matthew Richuk is with that fluorescent green yellow helmet. Absolutely draws sponsors to you because they know they're going to get talked about.
Yeah, I love it because it's very easy to identify for myself. And over the years, we need the Pro-Am box stock runabout riders to the starting line immediately. You can identify riders. You don't even need, after a while, you don't even need to see the numbers on the boat. You can just look at them, their riding style, their gear, and you can identify them. It makes it a lot easier for the announcing and for spectating as well as they come around the race course. And back in the day, in the late 80s and early 90s, all the fluorescent gear everybody wore was really bright on the race course.
Yeah, I think those days should be where they are in the past. I look back at some of the pictures and go, did we really wear that stuff?
Oh, I love it, man. I loved those days, all that stuff. That was
I'm sure you 6'7" in pink has got to be fluorescent pink. It's got to be gorgeous. Thank you, Jet Pilot.
Oh yeah, I was gorgeous. There's no doubt about it. No question. Just ask anybody. I'm sure they'll definitely agree with you.
Oh, we've got the pictures.
Yeah,
we've
right.
seen them actually saw them on Facebook the other day.
Oh man. So Jimmy Wilson out in front, down that jet trim back straightaway, leading Richuk. Now Richuk has dropped back. He's dropped back probably about 15 boat lengths from Wilson now in the last couple of laps. Wilson's starting to stretch it out. Jimmy Wilson, phenomenal talent, national champion, and definitely a force to be reckoned with in any stand-up race that he's in.
I'll tell you what, anything that Tim Judge touches is going to be spectacular. And then Jimmy Wilson adds talent to it. That's almost an unstoppable. And I say almost because look at Matt Richuk. I tell you what, I would look down just to myself to look down his sponsors, and I didn't see Judge Motorsports there, but I'll tell you what, whoever's turning the wrenches is doing a good job because he's keeping up with the national champion.
You know, speaking of Judge on this Pro Watercross National Tour, I just wonder if the guy ever sleeps because the number of racers that are sponsored by him and helped out by him, it's almost the entire lineup seemingly at times. And I saw him yesterday working on Claude Clayton's Sea-Doo runabout in the morning. He's got Jimmy Wilson. He's helping so many guys. The guy must never sleep.
Yeah, well, you know what he does is he builds it strong and fast so it doesn't break. So he does all the work at the shop instead of on the race course. Let's do it right. He's been doing this forever. And I'll tell you, if I were ever to get back on a race course, I would love to have Tim Judge turning wrenches on my.
Oh, and Wilson goes down. Wilson goes down momentarily. Here comes Richuk at the end of the straightaway after that left-hand turn coming off the front straight. Wilson bobbled and went down. Richuk gets a little glimmer of hope now, seeing Wilson go down in front of him, and Richuk's charging.
He's doing a great job staying out of the pump wash. He's going to do the inside-outside move. Of course, Wilson, he's been doing this long enough. He knows how to make that little teeny ski about 8 feet wide. The young man, Mr. Richuk, if he is lucky enough to get up next to him, I think this will be a learning lesson for him.
Well, I'll tell you what, Wilson got a first yesterday in Moto 1. Richuk got a second. So Richuk's in the running for the overall. If he can get by Wilson here and take advantage of that mistake, that'll put him in a good position for the third moto. And anything can happen.
They'll be tied.
Anything can happen. But he's got to try to take advantage right now of that mistake by Wilson. The crisscross white and checkered flag comes out from our starter, indicating we are halfway through this moto.
Well, I tell you, these two are really putting on a show here. And Richuk reeling in Jimmy Wilson. I mean, he is getting closer and closer to this tight section on the right-hand side of the course. Richuk going through it very smoothly. And now that we're into lap traffic, Wilson doesn't have the advantage of that clear water. He's running in some pump wash too. And here comes Richuk starting to reel in Jimmy Wilson inch by inch, foot by foot. They're closing in on the lap traffic, Rick.
Yeah, Richuk got a great drive coming onto the back straightaway that time. He really railed that left-hander, and that allowed him to pick up a couple of boat lengths on Wilson. You watch Richuk's corner speed accelerating out of the corners. When he does it right, he is really making some ground up on Wilson right now. That left-hander coming out onto that back straightaway was beautifully executed that time by Richuk, and you can see where he's at. He's about 4 boat lengths behind Wilson right now, just past the halfway point in this second moto.
No question. Jimmy Wilson is doing a good job through this section on the far right. Richuk is doing a phenomenal job. He has got it wired.
Now watch him coming onto that back straightaway. There goes Wilson onto the jet trim back straight. Richuk again, he's really carving that left-hander beautifully and allowing him to carry a lot of exit speed from that corner onto that back straightaway where he can hit the top end of that ski a little quicker than Wilson is and allowing him to pick up just a little bit of ground on Wilson each lap right now. Wilson, though, is doing a great job on the rest of the course, particularly in the rough water. It's getting a little rougher out there. It's getting churned up, and the leader's now dealing with lap traffic.
Yeah, well, that's it. Jimmy Wilson just went through 3 riders like I'm going to use it. It's been used forever, a hot knife through butter. Richuk doing everything he can, but he's stuck in the pump wash of the 3 boats in front of him. The riders want to move over and give him a little room, but not till he's close. They're not going to slow down. They're battling amongst themselves. Richuk desperately trying to get by these riders. He looks over. They see him, but they're not slowing down.
Yeah, Richuk definitely got the worst of it there on the right-hand side of the course in the pump wash of a couple of those riders. Yeah, that's a really, really tough place to be when you're in a race.
Well, we were talking about experience right before Jimmy Wilson sliced through all 3 of those, or by all 3 of those lapped riders, and Richuk still trying to get by the other 2. And Wilson is now starting to reel or move away from the lappers, and Richuk is stuck back there, and he's getting beaten up in that rough water behind those 2 lapped riders. Blue and yellow flag comes out. They look over, they see he's there. And now Richuk gets by one, the other. That is the New Zealand rider's got to move over and let Richuk go by.
Yeah, Richuk just mired behind those two lapped riders. Really has slowed him down. Completely off the pace of Wilson here in Moto 2. But, you know, you watch Richuk, the young rider, he is a very lean rider, and his riding style is phenomenal. He is able to rail when he hooks it up just right. He is able to really get down and kind of do a body drag turn on some of these corners, keeping his speed up. He looks really good out there. Richuk is going to be a heck of a rider down the road here. He is already fast and getting faster by the race. Down the front straightaway, our race leader, Jimmy Wilson, now kind of all by himself out in front. Lap traffic, it definitely helped him. Oh, and our starter is just beside himself out on the flagging tower with the lap traffic. Course Marshal Randy is having an aneurysm right now as these riders are not moving over to his satisfaction. I'm sure he'll have a little word with them after the race is over. Dead serious racing out there. It's fun up here for us to announce this and watch this, but when you're on the racetrack and our course marshals and starters, they take this very seriously. These riders, this is pro racing after all, and these riders need to pay attention because Richuk definitely was hurt by that lap traffic not getting out of his way that time, and our starter Randy down there acknowledges that and is seeing what's going on. 2 laps to go. Jimmy Wilson.
Pro-Am runabout box stock to the line. Looks like we have everyone there. This is the final call. Pro-Am runabout box stock.
Richuk trying to work his way through lap traffic again, just getting beat up back there just a little bit. This guy is young and he's lean statured, and he can lay that Superjet over and rail it like nobody I've seen in a long time.
Does he kind of remind you of Jacobs with the stature and the body type?
I didn't want to say go that far, but yeah, I was thinking that.
As long as I could say it, you'll
I
agree?
actually thought of that a few laps ago. He really is able to rail that ski around those corners using his body to control it. And the exit speed is just really good with Matthew Richuk, and he's going to get nothing but faster. 17 years old. White flag comes out in front straightaway, our race leader, Jimmy Wilson.
Yeah, what a great job that Richuk has done, but let's face it, Jimmy Wilson out front again. You know, we don't get tired of saying it because he is such a smooth rider. Wilson, he conserves his energy everywhere he can. You'll see him standing up on the skis, stretching out in the straights between the corners. When he leans into the corner, he's barely, bending his legs so he can absorb the shock, but still keeping it at a great angle. And like you say, his exit speeds out of the corners are strong every single lap, every single corner.
Jimmy Wilson is using that experience. He's a very savvy rider. He's got 1 million laps underneath his belt, and he is not going to get flustered by lap traffic. He is going to keep it smooth, keep it moving forward. He knows what he needs to do, and that results in the checkered flag coming out for our national champion, taking the win here, Moto number 2, Jimmy Wilson on the Judge Motorsports Yamaha. Folks. And Matthew Richuk, what a race.
Wow.
Number 15, 17 years old, and that was a fine moto right there, ridden by young Matthew Richuk.
Richuk was about 8 feet from lapping David Cabrera. That says a lot in itself.
Oh, he's fast. He's a guy to keep an eye on. There is no question about it.
That family got to be very happy. On the line now, Pro-Am runabout box stock of the number 1 machine. Out of Denver, North Carolina, Yamaha mounted, sponsored by Factory Yamaha, Fly, Champion Power Sports, Riva, and Triton Trailers, Brian Baldwin.
Boat number 8 out of Rydell, Georgia, riding for Metal Roofing Manufacturing, Dean's team in Riva. On the Yamaha, Jeff Dykowski.
On the number 77 Yamaha out of Bradenton, Florida, sponsored by Yamaha, Geico, Jet Trim, Fly Racing, it is Jason Russo.
Number 110 out of Bradenton, Florida, riding for Judge Motorsports, Snyderbilt, and Broward Motorsports. On the Yamaha, the slugger, Troy Snyder.
On the 117 out of Jakarta, Indonesia, on the Yamaha. Sponsored by Dean's Team, Yamaha, and Jet Tribe, Aksa Aswar.
And his brother, number 119, all the same, Jakarta, Indonesia, Yamaha, Dean's Team, Aero Aswar.
On the number 153 Sea-Doo out of Abbeville, Alabama. 39 years old, sponsored by Sea-Doo, Jetlift, Jet Renew, Fly, Riva, Jet Pilot, and Rock Tape, Anthony Raditic.
Number 243 out of Loganville, Georgia, riding for Fly, Scat Track, Riva Racing, Green Acres Landscaping, and Jet Renew on the Yamaha, Dennis Mack.
A strong young rider out of Groveland, Florida, on the number 247 Yamaha, sponsored by Fly Racing, Action Kawasaki Yamaha, Aztec Racing, and Dean's Team, Dylan Osborne.
Number 777 out of Waco, Texas, riding for Dean's Team, Jet Trim, Jet Pilot, and Waco Ads on the Kawasaki, Tim Miller.
On the number 911 Kawasaki out of West Palm Beach, Florida, 32 years old, sponsored by Broward Motorsports, Dean's Team, Yamaha, Fly, and Quakey Sense, Eric Francis.
And this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out battle. This is one stacked lineup in Pro-Am runabout box stock, and this is one of the finest lineups we've seen in a while, Kurt.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. Brian Baldwin, strong as always. Some of the riders that from like Eric Francis, Tim Miller, Raditic, the Aswar brothers. Those guys come all the way from Indonesia. They are serious about their racing.
Well, the Aswar brothers are known as being really, really strong contenders in stock class racing on those Dean Cherry A-Tune Yamahas, and they sit number 1 and 2 on the inside of the starting gate, finishing in that position yesterday in Moto number 1. They finished 1 and 2, and it was Eric Francis in third yesterday. So we'll see how things shake out today. We've got 2 motos of racing going on here today in the Pro Show, so this is going to be a battle. And again, it's an exciting starting line for the runabout stock class.
I'll tell you what, one rider we didn't discuss, and I know you call him Slugger. I call him the human pit bull, Troy Snyder. He has been enhanced by his physician. I'll tell you what, I saw the pictures. This guy is a miracle walking right now, and he is brutal out on the course on the number 110 Yamaha.
Snyder came in 5th yesterday in Moto number 1. Not at all happy with that finish, and I know he'd like to improve upon that, to say the least.
You and I both know we don't want to be in front of Troy Snyder right now.
He wasn't real happy, not at all. And here we go. This is going to be a good one. Wow. Stock boats, they're pretty fast stock boats.
I'll tell you what, the Oswars almost as one, and then Snyder right there. Snyder trying to go around the outside, see if he can pull into a third spot here.
It's the Aswars running 1, 2.
And 3. No, wait a minute.
They got the jump out of the gate. They were on the pole position. That's where they stand coming into the front straightaway.
Whoa. Some excellent riding going on out there.
It is 117, the race leader. That is Oscar Aswar in front of his brother, Aero. And these guys are flying around this racetrack. This is stock class racing, but these stock class boats are incredibly tuned.
I'll tell you what, the rider in third spot, we're trying to get the number, is doing a phenomenal job trying to catch up with the Aswars. Who is it?
Yeah, Francis is taking over second spot, and that puts Aero Aswar into third. And the battle's taking place for second right now. They're swapping positions. And look at them side by side. Francis Aero Aswar. That's a
Aswar
mouthful.
gets it back, but there's Francis right on the inside. Eric Francis, I should have known, Rick. One of the longtime watercraft racers out of Florida. Francis, multi-time champion back in the day. And he is all over Aswar. Meanwhile, his brother's taking the lead. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, Francis in second place now is taking over that second position and sets his sights on our race leader.
Is that Troy Snyder back there in fourth? It looks like. The 110.
117 down the back straightaway. The race leader, Aqua Aswar, out of Jakarta, Indonesia, on the Dean's Teen Yamaha. And he is flying out in front.
He is flying out in front. And, you know, yesterday they flipped. Arrow was out front. Aqua finished right behind him. So it's interesting what they're going to do. We want to say Sport GP to the line. Sport GP to the line.
Yep, and usually those two brothers are almost side by side, but this time Eric Francis has squeezed into third, past Arrow, and but he is not going to be alone in that second position as Aswar starts to gain again behind Francis. What a battle. 1, 2, 3 down the back straightaway, all GP 1800 Yamahas. This is the box stock runabout class. So these skis are pretty stock, not 100%, but they're finally, everything that can be done is done to these.
I'll tell you what, these riders are getting everything they can out of that machine. Any idea?
117, our race leader, still looking good out in front. Aqua Aswar. Eric Francis, number 911, in second.
That makes sense. Brian Baldwin on the number 1 machine back in that 4th spot. I wonder who that rider was who's been pulling up all race long. Yeah, that is Brian Baldwin.
Baldwin on the gas now, closing the gap on third place. Arrow Aswar. Baldwin starting to challenge for that